Have you ever stopped to think about how that coffee in your mug or the phone in your pocket actually got to you? It's all thanks to global trade, right? But what's really fascinating is that beneath the surface of all these everyday things, there are these massive, tectonic shifts happening. They're literally redrawing the map of the global economy and changing what it means to have a job. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack these new rules of trade and what they mean for all of us.
First, I want you to just look at this number, 465 million.
That is how many jobs right now are tied to the global flow of goods and services. And we're not just talking about people on a factory floor or working at a port. No, this is a huge, sprawling web. Think about the software engineers in one country who are building an app for a company halfway across the world, or the farmers who grew the beans for your coffee this morning. It's an absolutely gigantic chunk of the global workforce.
And the thing is, the impact of these jobs is enormous. Because here's the key takeaway. Trade doesn't just create more jobs. A lot of the time, it creates better jobs.
And this right here gets to the heart of why this all matters so much. You see, the sectors that are deep into global trade, they tend to be more formal. That means more stability, better protections for workers, and they usually offer better pay. Plus, they create these really important pathways into the economy, especially for women and young people. So, a healthy trade system is a really powerful tool for actually improving people's lives.
But that engine is kind of sputtering right now. It's facing this new persistent problem, a thick fog of uncertainty that's basically changing all the rules of the game.
You'll hear economists talk about trade policy uncertainty, or TPU. Honestly, you can just think of it as the villain of our story. It's that constant worry. What if a new tariff suddenly gets slapped on car parts? Or what if a political fight disrupts a whole supply chain? This kind of unpredictability makes it almost impossible for businesses to plan ahead, to invest, to hire.
And the result of all that worry? Well, it's a chilling effect that just ripples out across the entire global economy. And this isn't some small thing. It creates three really specific, really damaging problems.
So first, it spooks investors. I mean, if you don't know what the rules are going to be next year, are you really going to build that expensive new factory? Probably not. Second, it squeezes wages. That same uncertainty can actually push down paychecks for everybody, from skilled to unskilled workers. And third, it just scrambles the physical movement of goods around the world. Everything becomes riskier and way more expensive.
And look, this is not just a theory. This has a real-world cost. For places that are really tangled up in these global supply chains, the impact is direct and it hurts. In Southeastern Asia, for example, this uncertainty could shave off almost 0.5% from wages every single year. Even in a place like Europe, workers could see a real hit to their income. But okay, while this cloud of uncertainty is hanging over everything, there's this other absolutely fundamental transformation happening right underneath it. We're seeing this massive pivot in what we actually trade. Just take a look at this chart. That first bar shows that since about 2008, trade in physical stuff, goods, has been pretty flat, even declining a bit as a piece of the global economy. But now look at that second bar. Trade in services? It's been on this steady, relentless climb. And one particular part of that services trade is just exploding. I'm talking about growth of more than double in the trade of digitally delivered services. Right. This is the kind of trade that doesn't need a giant container ship. It's IT support, it's business outsourcing, streaming movies, financial services, basically anything you can send through the internet. This is where the action is. Technology has basically untethered all these high-value jobs from any one physical place, and it's opening up this whole new frontier for how we do business.
So what does this actually mean for jobs? Well, it means the whole picture has been redrawn. If you went back to 1995, only about a third of jobs linked to trade were in services. But look at this chart for 2022. That number has jumped to almost half. Services have now officially taken over for manufacturing as the biggest home for trade-related jobs. It's a huge shift.
Okay, so we've got this massive shift to services. But at the same time, there's another huge change happening in where all this trade is flowing. Those old, sprawling global supply chains are being reconfigured. The maps are literally being redrawn as we speak.
In this table right here, it shows a really stark divide. So in these really integrated areas like Europe or North America, a massive chunk of their trade-related jobs come from trading with their next-door neighbors. But then look at the other end of the list. For South America or Africa, those numbers are tiny. They're still overwhelmingly dependent on selling to markets that are thousands of miles away.
So why does that matter? Well, this trend toward trading with your neighbors, this regionalization, it creates a huge risk. As these powerful economic blocs trade more and more with each other, countries that aren't part of the club could just got out. They risk being left behind in this new configuration.
All right, so let's tie all these threads together. We've got this constant uncertainty. We've got a historic pivot from physical goods to digital services, and we've got the trade map reforming around these big regional blocks. So what does all this mean for the new world of work?
It means we're living in a totally new reality. First off, uncertainty isn't just a phase. It's the new normal. Get used to it. Second, services are the new engine. The job growth of the future, it's shifting from assembly lines to keyboards. And finally, geography is back in a big way. Who your neighbors are matters more than ever. The old model of just ever-expanding global supply chains is being replaced by something that's way more complex, way more digital, and way more regional.
And all of that leaves us with the billion-dollar question for the next decade, doesn't it? As the rulebook for global trade is literally being rewritten in front of our eyes, who's going to win and who is going to get left behind?